pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next, we'll have roll call.
Commissioner Knight.
Present.
Commissioner Robbins.
Here.
Commissioner Moody.
Present.
Commissioner O'Connor.
Present.
Commissioner Sassi.
Present.
Commissioner Purdue.
Present.
Mayor Bliss.
Yes. And next, I will introduce our interpreters. So if you do need assistance with interpretation services, we welcome you to request that. Hi, welcome.
Hello. Good evening. My name is Yuvia, and we are pleased to provide Spanish interpretation services this evening. This includes interpretation during the meeting and for those who want to provide public comment. Buenos días, mi nombre es Yuvia. Estamos complacidos de proveer servicios de interpretación en español esta noche. Esto incluye interpretación durante la reunión y para aquellos que quieran proveer comentario público.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right. So if this is your first time coming to a City Commission meeting, welcome. We're glad to have you here. Just a couple of reminders. This is an official city meeting with city business to be conducted. So we'll start off the meeting with an opportunity for public comment. And the first opportunity for public comment is really specific to public comment on agenda items. So we have a full agenda today. We had some standing committee meetings earlier this morning. So I'll open up that opportunity for public comment that is specific to agenda items. And then at the end of the meeting, we have an open public comment period on any other items. We ask that you come up here to the podium, that you share your name, the city that you live in. You'll be given up to 3 minutes to speak. On the first opportunity for public comment, please be really explicit about what agenda item you're speaking to so that we are aware of what item you're talking about. Again, we ask that you make sure that you are respectful of this space. We do have some meeting procedures up here on the wall. We do ask you to come, as I said, to the podium. And then we also want to make sure that we refrain from making others feel uncomfortable speaking their mind, even if we disagree with them. So we ask that you refrain from clapping or cheering or booing, using profanity, vulgar language, or threats. So I'll open it up for public comment. And again, this is for agenda items. Looks like you brought some props there, Scott.
Visual aids.
Okay.
Yes. My name is Scott Atchison. I'm a Third Ward resident of Grand Rapids, and I'm here to talk about community development item number 3, specifically Highland Park. I don't know if you guys know this, but in the city of Grand Rapids history, Highland Park used to be a par 3 golf course twice in the past, in the 1930s and 1950s. Now I see in your item you guys want to spend $300,000 to $600,000 in Highland Park. And by the way, the golf show is this weekend at DeVos Place. Heard that on the radio today. It's another reason we need an information system downtown. But I'm saying if you guys were to put a golf driving range right there at Highland Park off of College, hitting east, it would be a high success. Because I remember saying to the city commission before that 5 years ago, you guys did not have a public golf driving range in the city of Grand Rapids. Everyone had to go to Cascade, Wyoming, wherever, but you guys did do something successful at Indian Trails. I live by 36 in Kalamazoo. I drive by Indian Trails, and in the spring, summer, and fall, the golf driving range is busy, busy, busy. So what I'm saying to you, when you guys are scheduling the public hearing tonight, I'm going to put something in your agenda item for 3 weeks from now when you do have the public hearing on Highland Park. But I think you guys should put a golf driving range down there. It would be great for the schools. You know, for their sporting events at the schools, they could go have a golf driving range there with the assistance of the city. And I think it would be great for everybody who works downtown or at the hospital area. They could take, an hour lunch and go hit a bucket of balls in the same time. I'm saying it'll be so successful with the profits, you can turn it back during the winter time into like sledding and cross country for all the residents of Grand Rapids. Golf driving range in the spring, summer, and fall, but in the winter time, you use the profits to make it great for sledding or whatever there. I've known Highland Park my whole life. In the 70s, I went there, pretty much all the time in the summertime. The free lunch program, they had a great pool. That's where I learned to play tetherball. But once I learned from the library archives that it used to be a golf driving or a par 3 golf course twice, That's what I'm saying. You guys need to put a golf driving range in there, and I think it'll be highly successful for the city of Grand Rapids. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your comments. All right, others wish to be heard, and again, this is on agenda items.
How you doing, everybody? I'd like to talk about the resolution of approving the Grand Rapids Community College grant. I don't know exactly what this grant funding is going back for, but I would like for you guys to support academic groups. For example, I used to be a part of the all-black fraternity at GRCC called Alpha Beta Omega, and I ended up getting a 3.5, a lot of 3.5 GPAs or higher. I made the dean's list. I've done a lot of cool things, so I don't know exactly what that grant funding is going to, but can we make sure that we support academic and high education programs for people of color? Also, I'd like to talk about the revitalization and placemaking grant. I don't know exactly what those funds are going for, but I hope that you guys use those funds to revitalize underserved and underprivileged communities. I would like to see this. I would like those funds to be going towards sustainable renewable energy improvements to buildings or properties along the south side, or just properties where there are underserved people, where people will want to see beautified and beautiful things and nice buildings, affordable buildings, whether it goes to housing or businesses. It should be affordable for all people. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. All right, others wish to be heard on agenda items?
I'm just glad I'm not the only prop guy anymore. Thank you, brother. All right, Lucas, First Ward. I told you I'd try to do a better job coming up here and singing the praises and not just call you political cowards, so I'm going to encourage you toward your political strength. You're going to place an agenda item to have a hearing about reducing the level of scrutiny, or increasing the level of scrutiny, reducing the number of years, concerning lead paint. And I'm going to be leaning on you to be brave and stoic when the inevitable pile of greedy landlords comes after you. I applaud what I've read in this ordinance. It's very, very good. But you're going to hear a lot of empty threats. There's going to be a bunch of people puffing up their chests, talking about getting out of the rental business and talking about trying to punish you and get revenge on you by refusing to have housing inventory when you're already in desperate need. Stick it out, because I'm going to be there to cheer this one on. If anybody's out there and they haven't read this, first of all, if they haven't read this and they've had a bunch of words to say like me up here, they're not doing the whole job and they need to get to reading. But I will praise you when you're doing something awesome, and that's going to be awesome, because I can tell you this. I've been around a minute. I don't look 44. I've rented a few places, don't own a home. And when we looked at moving to this city, some of those property management companies were the worst. You'll get mad at me if I say the other half of the grab word, but these people, coming from a city much larger with southern greed, topped anything I'd ever seen. So if they try to lie to you and tell you they can't afford for you to make this regulation, call that bluff. I'm very happy to see it. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, others wish to be heard on agenda items? Hi, welcome.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paris McMurray, Pastor Paris McMurray. I'm the senior pastor of Renaissance Church of God in Christ, located here in the city of Grand Rapids, Michigan. I'm excited to be able to share this time with you all. We have submitted a request in writing to commemoratively designate 33rd Street east into the property of the Renaissance Church of God in Christ and rename it Bishop Dennis J. McMurray Way. I am just coming here today to voice on behalf of the Renaissance Church family, as well as my McMurray family. My mother is sitting in the audience as well, to ask you all to please consider this commemorative designation. Again, we appreciate the opportunity for you all to do this. Not only will it serve as a testament to my father's legacy as a cleric, but to my father's legacy as a member of this great community of the city of Grand Rapids. Again, we thank you all for considering this time, and we appreciate your consideration. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for coming down. Good to see you both. All right, others who wish to be heard on agenda items?
I need to pass out.
Sure.
I'll give you mine when I'm done.
Yeah, you give it to our clerk if you'd like.
And I didn't bring
Thank
any
you.
for the clerk attorney, that's why you can have mine.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Deck Andrzak, and I'm a rental property owner in Grand Rapids, and I'm commenting on the proposed changes to the property maintenance code, mainly regarding lead. As a point of perspective, please consider a coffee creamer packet at a restaurant. This contains 2.5 grams of creamer or dust. The amount in this packet would be enough to contaminate 250,000 residents with the new code, with the remediation down to 10 to 100 micrograms. This level will have a cost impact. The proposed changes, I'm not here to stop these changes from occurring. I'm here to ask for your considerations on adjusting what is proposed in the red line document. Number one, frequency. One-time test per property for certification, and then again after initial repair or after repair work is completed. Please consider an initial test and not making owners do this every time a recertification is done. The proposed testing being considered during a time when there is a natural decline in lead incidents from paint. Two, affordability. This testing is going to impact the rental properties of Grand Rapids at a minimum of $5 million, with the test at $200 and 28,000 pre-1978 units. These cost estimates, like anything else, are subject to change and likely in the upward direction, just as insurance, taxes, utilities, and general maintenance generally go up. If you have reviewed what this test is, the personnel, the materials required, you'll see that it's likely that these costs are estimated on the low end, not to mention any retesting required. As you can expect, these will be passed to the tenants to affect affordability. Third, certification length. If we're doing this, certification should stay with the property for the length of the approved certification. With this additional testing and the costs associated, will the city agree to let the rental certifications be attached to the properties, just like taxes and water bills? Property owners go through the effort to comply with city requirements, and isn't it fair to allow these certifications to go with the properties if they are sold? And then equity and health concerns. Yes, the rental properties need this, but what about owner-occupieds? If there is a real desire to lower lead exposure to new levels, let's be equitable and have the owner-occupied homes tested as well, at least when they're sold and they come to market. I've got a section here on stakeholder engagement, which will help, I think, facilitate a process of getting good feedback from the stakeholders in this. But in the end, I just want to thank you for considering these options as a balance between the public and private stakeholders for this proposed change. There are many residents, taxpayers, and property owners who want to maintain good health and safety for our residents and keep good properties. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, others wish to be heard on agenda items?
It's interesting how we don't have to introduce ourselves or give our names and stuff. Was that protocol? I guess I will. Hello, everyone. Brandon Bilski here, 2nd Ward. Very happy to say hello to our new commissioners, and this is my first meeting of the year. My main contention is with resolution authorizing the approvement of $2,500 for the neighborhood organizations. I want to just state flat out that the city does not do near enough reaching out to the city. Your engagement is low. Having almost a master's in communication, your vlogs, your conversations, the amount of people who vote for mayor, for any of you, you're hardly an elected democratic body. You hardly represent and do not represent democracy. You're much more of an oligarchy, and the amount of time that so many people have been poisoned by lead is reflected in that as well. These landlords are the ones who will complain if they have to have a little bit of the cost. But you know who really has to have the cost? The mothers in the 3rd Ward, who are mostly minority mothers working fast food positions in poverty for decades and still having this lead issue. And he didn't say one word about how difficult it might have been. But you know what? This is going to increase costs for us like $5 million or so. How much profits do you have as a landlord? And why is this still an issue is the question. Welcome to 2023 in Grand Rapids, a city thriving with billionaires that tell you what to do. How much do you make again, Mark Washington? I'm trying to remember. You yourself could put way more in your personal money to reach out for this city and actually get some engagement, and it would double the amount of, you have a communication director, I'm sure, that's doing a great job for who? Keeping engagement low. So this is a pitiful amount for a master plan where the community are supposed to engage for the next 20 years of policy. And they only give a smittance to actually have the community of any time. Well, I'm here for the community to say we are going to demand a lot more from you this year. And I'm disgusted. And I know it's not really personal as much as politics is deeply personal. right? Because these are people's lives. But I'm sure all of you, in your power, are trying to the greatest extent of your humanity. And ultimately, I'm here to support you from the grassroots, from the bottoms up. Because I need you as much as many of these other Grand Rapidians do. I'm facing houselessness, and yet I go to the Chamber of Commerce and see these huge presentations and help people get millions of dollars because I'm good at what I do. It's calling out the bullshit.
Okay, thanks. All right, others who wish to be heard?
Mark from Grand Rapids. I want to talk about the same thing the other people were talking about.
What, Mark, can you let us know which one?
The,
Are you talking about the lead?
Yeah, the lead.
Okay.
Be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. I can understand you have to get the lead out. That's not a problem. But it will come at a cost to the tenants. Or worse, they might be pushed out and be forced to find somewhere else to live. Because here's what could happen. The landlords and property owners are going to have to abide by getting lead out of the water and then repaint the units with lead-free paint. That's cost money. And that money is going to be forced on the tenants with higher rents. Or much worse, they can redo the units in its entirety and then sell them to sleazy property owners, and then jack up the rents so high that the people who lived in the units before cannot afford it. It has been done before, and it can be done again. So you better be careful, because there are snakes out there. And if you stay asleep, those snakes will come in, and they go renovating those apartments to make sure that the people who can afford it can, and the people who've been living there for all those years and struggling to make ends meet are going to be pushed out. Because trust me, if you allow that to happen, that's your fault, not the residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. All right, anyone else wishes to be heard on agenda items? Bless you. Bless you.
Daniel Scott, a resident of Grand Rapids, almost 45 years. More importantly, a follower of the Lord Jesus Christ. I'd like to address the lead issue simply by saying I agree with all that you can do to make our homes safer and our businesses safer concerning lead. But why can't we have the same concern about, on average, the 120 babies being murdered at 320 East Fulton every single month? If you care about children, please care about the unborn. Thank you.
All right, I'll close that public comment period, and that will take us to approval of our minutes. So Commissioners, can I get a motion to approve our minutes from our January 24th meeting?
So moved. Support.
All right, moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, that will take us to petitions and communications.
Communication received from Housing Justice Now volunteer organizers with Grand Rapids Area Tenants Union expressing opposition to the Grand Rapids Chamber's proposed ordinance.
That is received and filed.
Communication received from Kim Bodie regarding their resignation from the North Quarter Corridor Improvement Authority.
That's referred to our Committee on Appointments.
Communication from Christopher Dolashall regarding their resignation from the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
That is referred to our Committee on Appointments.
Communications from Joan Heiser Honig regarding their resignation from the Urban Agricultural Committee.
That is referred to our Committee on Appointments.
Communication from Jill Meyer regarding their resignation from the Urban Agriculture Committee.
And that is also referred to our Committee on Appointments.
Communication received from Scott Atchison regarding Highland Park.
That is received and filed.
And then 23 communications received urging the City Commission to publicly reject Chamber of Commerce ordinance to target unhoused neighbors.
And that is received and filed. All right, that will take us to reports of city officers, and we have 2 items before us today.
First one is Comptroller's report for the period of January 11, 2023 through January 24, 2023, in the amount of $21,567,695.74.
That is received and
And
filed.
the Treasurer's report for the period of January 11, 2023 through January 20, 2023.
And that is also received and filed. All right, next that will take us to our consent agenda. So our consent agenda are items that we talked about earlier today in one of our standing committee meetings where there was a unanimous vote. So today, with a voice vote, we'll adopt those items. Commissioners, can I get a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
All right, moved and supported. Commissioners, any additional questions or comments? Go ahead, Commissioner.
I just wanted to say thank you to, and it's a nice ring to it, Pastor McMurray, for coming to share. I got teared up a little bit thinking about the legacy, and I don't even know all of the legacy of your father and your family. And, I just had to say that because my mom just loved working with you at GRPS. And so I appreciate it. And I think especially in this month of Black History, to continue not to only recognize Black Americans, African Americans in this country, but all of the talent and the investment we've had in our city is important. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you for raising that up. I know all of our hearts were broken with the passing of your dad, and really proud to vote on this today to honor him. So, thank you. Gonna make me tear up too, so need to stop that. Commissioners, any other questions or comments? All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? It carries. All right, Commissioners, we do have one ordinance before us today.
It's an ordinance amending Section 4.2 of Ordinance 2022-33, new classification, Emergency Management Specialist.
All right, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Commissioner O'Connor from our Fiscal Committee, you want to tell us about this item?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, this is a new position we're adding to our, recently, in the past few years, created Emergency Management Department, and we're just adding a new support person in that department, and it's been through civil service, and look forward to having, another person available to make sure that we're prepared in the event of any kind of emergency or unrest or natural disaster.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right, there's a roll call vote today.
Commissioner Purdue? Yes. Commissioner Knight?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connor?
Yes.
Commissioner Moody?
Yes.
Commissioner Sassi?
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
All right, and can I get a motion? Did you call my name?
On Mayor Bliss.
I think I need to vote on that too. Yes, my answer is yes. And then Commissioners, can I get a motion to give it immediate effect?
So moved. Support.
All right, moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, so Commissioners, we do not have any scheduled public hearings today. We will have some at our next meeting, obviously. And so that will take us to public comment. So this is public comment on any other item or issue that you want this elected body to hear. Again, we ask that you share your name, the city that you live in. If I don't catch that, I'll ask my city clerk to help me to make sure. We do have a clipboard over there that you can put your name on so that we get your name spelled correctly in our minutes. And we'll give you up to 3 minutes to speak, and you can see the timer right here.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, welcome.
My name is Jim Davis. I am the Director of Housing for Family Promise of Grand Rapids. I'd like to thank Commissioner O'Connor, Chairman O'Connor, at the Public Safety Committee meeting that I attended today, and the entire committee for spending some time hearing from some really important community leaders, primarily Ms. Myers-Keaton from the COC and Ms. People from Housing Kent. Their presentation was wonderful, and I hope that you'll be able to hear from Commissioner Moody and others who were in attendance, City Manager Washington and others. I do want to set the record straight on behalf of Family Promise of Grand Rapids and my role as Director of Housing to just make sure it is clear clear that while there are a number of shelter beds available here in the city of Grand Rapids on a nightly basis, that family shelter is at functional zero. In today's presentation, we saw that the shelter situation in our city would get to functional zero at 2029 based on current trends in the homeless community. But we're functioning at functional zero right now. 99% of the family shelter beds have been used over the course of the last year. Since August 22nd, when we gained control of input into HMIS through the coalition, we have had 82 families that have not been able to go into shelter because of a lack of beds. The only reason our shelter is at 99% in our data platform that we would be happy to share with you is because one day, one room was started, a family went in and was accepted into shelter and actually found another opportunity and left before we could replace it. So I just wanted to share that information, make sure that you had it before you as we make decisions, to let you know that every single room available for families with children this year has been full. Remember that the number of beds that we have available is also, they need to be turned, cleaned, deloused, and prepared for families as they go. So we have to be really careful about that turnover and vacancy rate, if you will, if you stay in the normal housing verbiage. And then, lastly, I would just like to talk about the point-in-time count as it functions in the homeless system. It was done this year on February 23rd. It's traditionally done on the third Wednesday in January. And just for it to be clear, while that is a good place for us to continue measuring because it can show us annual trends, it is also the lowest functional time of the year for homelessness. From December 24th through February 28th of every year, our counts are significantly down. And lastly, just because I do work at Family Promise, I want you to remember that family homelessness is an invisible situation. We can talk about individuals on the street, and we should be working with our businesses, our Chamber of Commerce, and our local leaders as are seated here before us to address those things. But children are not on the street asking for money. Children are not on the street saying they don't have a place to sleep, because when we get children and families on the street, CPS gets involved. And for anyone who's been involved as a part of your own families, you know that that's just not an option. So I wanted to put that on the record. I wanted to thank our presenters today, and I wanted you to keep that in consideration as we move forward in the conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. All right, others wish to be heard? Hi, welcome.
Thank you. Today I come with a simple ask.
Oh, Marcel, I'm sorry, can you start with your name?
Oh, man.
And the city you live in, sorry.
Yeah, my name is Marcel Price. I am the Chief Inspiration Architect with the Diatribe.
Thank you.
Today I come with a simple ask. For you all to be daring enough to try what hasn't been done, fearless enough to be willing to make mistakes for the benefit of the people, and courageous enough to believe that the talent here exists to do the work. The Diatribe, our organization, an organization founded here, rooted here, working with our schools, our students, our everyday extraordinary people, was targeted by some county commissioners to not receive ARPA funding. Anyone but the Diatribe, they said. It sounds like an idea Grand Rapids should be investing their ARPA dollars in, they said. Albeit the county receives funding from our hotel industry, from the people we bring from all over the world to here. But the issue with our organization isn't the offensive materials they were looking for yet didn't find, the links to Black Lives Matter or the defund the police movement that don't exist. It's because we're inspiring people and working to build in a way that challenges their values, funders, beliefs, and that terrifies them. Our city is a business, a downtown owned by a select few, entities created to allocate tax revenue and reinvest into properties that few own, drawing attractions and tourist dollars to this highly invested in epicenter so that the values rise, they get richer, and hopefully people want to come here. Now those same few own entities in our neighborhoods. I've been told that the city has MOUs to prioritize investment in these areas that old money now owns in neighborhoods they don't call homes themselves. Could you imagine if there were MOUs to invest in these before these rich owned the property? If 10 years ago MOUs existed before they owned blocks? If Burton Heights, Seymour Square, and a number of other areas in the South Side have MOUs to prioritize prioritize investment while people who look like the neighborhood still own them, imagine how this will change lives. If you invested in making every neighborhood one where people were proud to live, work, and play, we would be a world-class city. If you calculate how many dollars the city spends on contractors and consultants from outside of the city to subcontract actual community members to tell you what they already know, how much revenue would we keep in our community? Some of you wonder why people don't trust or believe in the city, one with more resources than we do problems. For decades, we've been asking you to invest in the city's flavor so the people making it exciting can continue to do so and not just get exhausted and leave. And you choose to continue to pick things like Art Prize every time. You choose an aquarium, you choose downtown, the riverfront after they buy it. This master plan should have always been investing in the cities from the neighborhoods in. That's why you all serve, right? To serve citizens, to serve neighbors, the people dedicating their lives to making this place we call home better. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, others wish to be heard?
Still Lucas, First Ward. So today I'm coming here a little embarrassed by my home state. Memphis, Tennessee has become a prime example of the sick and twisted culture we've allowed to pervade in American policing. I adore Memphis in many ways. That terrible story hurt for me to see. It also hurt for me to be reminded, and the community be reminded, that the influence of the jingoistic violence-first legalized gang mentality, which we've accepted in this nation as law enforcement, largely transcends the officer's race. The majority black cops involved in the murder of Tyree Nichols point to more the core issue of the profession of policing, that they've often sought to recruit these types, and then the inexcusable, blind nationalism that's caused average Americans to just ignore the problem. The former police chief of Minneapolis recently stated on Overtime with Bill Maher, police are getting some of the finest training they can possibly get. At some point in time, we just have to call it. It ain't the training, it's the character of the individual doing those things. He had the guts to immediately fire the officers that murdered George Floyd, and he had the guts to stand up to the police union, throwing them out of negotiations and pushing back hard on the broken and corrupt profession that he sought to heal. Even in examining some similar positives in Memphis, we see clear corruption. A chief previously fired for interfering with a sex crimes investigation about one of our own in Atlanta, and who has a history of creating and fostering these hyper-violent street gang-styled task forces. We saw police unions jump right on the bandwagon to condemn the officers involved, which is virtually never heard of when white officers are in the hot seat, but the FOP was Johnny on the spot to disown these 5 black cops. It is critically important that we learn from the missed opportunities to come down hard on Chris Schur and begin to make Grand Rapids an example in the battle to set things right. That'll involve some willingness to suspend without pay or even fire bad cops. It'll require a willingness to stop regarding police unions with the same level of honor and respect that should be reserved for actual labor unions, and treat them like the legalized mafias and gangs, and in some cases KKK chapters, that their behavior telegraphs them to be. It'll require a willingness to force police to carry their own liability insurance, perhaps. The list is long. And the national headlines are going to continue to remind us that it's not going away. Please have the guts to stick with it and act so that we can start being a positive national example for the right kind of change. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Leverett. All right, others who wish to be heard?
Hi, my name is Joyce Gibson, and I'm running for governor in 2026. I'm here to talk to you because I don't like proposal number 3. It exploits our children's innocence and it complicates our relationships. Under proposal 3, the fertility initiative, transgender can request if they are over the age of 10 and with at least one apparent consent, they can have a hormonal procedure which stops the onset of maturity. I don't know all about the details, but this can only hurt a child. If a child is having a sexual relationship with an adult. If someone gets pregnant under the fertility initiative, the girl can have an abortion if they are at least by the age of 10 or 11 without the parental knowledge or consent. A woman having a casual relationship, by casual I mean not married, she can have an abortion. But I stumble on the phrase, my body, my choice. This means to a man, I can have sex with anybody wherever I want. But with a woman, my body, my choice means I can have sex with anybody, anywhere I want. And I can also kill the child if it's unwanted. I disagree. This is not your body. If your mother was doing that, you would agree with her, and this is not your body alone. Now there's a host, an entity completely not dependent in your body. There is a solution to all this madness, a good father figure or man. When a woman or men, when a baby is born, you can put it up for adoption or you can raise it up. You could find a man, their dad, or a member of the family, or a member of the church. Send them to church. Don't just take them to church. Don't just send them to church. My children grew up without a father figure, and they were helped by their brothers, their uncles, and the members of the church. And now I'm proud of them.
All right. Thank you. Others who wish to be heard?
Daniel Scott once again. I'm here to honor Black History Month. Mr. Washington and Commissioner Moody, when last time I was here, you both said Martin Luther King was your mentor and hero. I'm wondering if you're familiar, if everyone here is familiar with this quote from Martin Luther King, Jr. How can the dream survive if we murder the children? Every aborted baby is like a slave in the womb of his or her mother. The mother decides his or her fate. Martin Luther King, Jr. I'm wondering if you heard of Dr. Mildred Jefferson. She made history as the first black woman to graduate from Harvard Medical School. She also made history as a founder of the pro-life movement and one of the first presidents of the National Right to Life Committee. Dr. Jefferson's voice was so powerful that none other than Ronald Reagan credited her with helping to change his views on murder in the womb. Reagan transformed from the governor who legalized murder in the womb in California to America's first pro-life president. I'm wondering if everyone here realizes that 1,000 African-American children are murdered every day through what they call abortion. In fact, more black lives have been lost since 1973 through the murder of babies in the womb than all other causes combined. Sounds like racism to me. And then these quotes from Margaret Sanger. Maybe you're familiar who Margaret Sanger was. She was a founder of Planned Parenthood. Good friend of Adolf Hitler, personal friend of Adolf Hitler. Again, the founder of Planned Parenthood. Google this and find this for yourself. Quotes by Margaret Sanger. Quote, "We don't want the word to get out that we want to exterminate the Negro population." Quote number 2, "They are human weeds, reckless breeders, spawning human beings who never should have been born." And number 3, "I accepted an invitation to talk to the woman's branch of the Ku Klux Klan," unquote. If you support Planned Parenthood, you support the founder of that group. And I would think you were racist. Thank you.
All right. Others who wish to be heard?
How you doing, everybody? My name is DeAndre Jones, known in the trenches as D. Jones. First of all, I'd like to show you guys some beautiful cards, the best of the best cards that you can get. I like to hold this like the Egyptian god cards, or like people like to fan their money, cool things like that. These are the best events, the Rose Bowl, the Super Bowl, the best of the best events. I connected with the company that actually makes these for all of the big sports companies and big events. And so that's the type of quality I want to bring to our city, the best, highest quality, the best of the best quality. And do it every single year until I die, and be global. The best of the best. I'm extremely passionate about economic development. I got to sit here through the presentation, like things that I put out to the universe. I got to, like, I was looking at the things I was posting on Facebook, and a memory came up, and I was talking to the Michigan Civil Rights Department about police brutality and people's traumas and pains. And I talked to our police officers today, and we're looking to do esports events to bring the community together. And I've been working with our airport. I went to the party at the Fox Theater with the governor. I got to kick it with Governor Whitmer and Lieutenant Governor. I got to connect with a bunch of politicians on the east side and a bunch of business leaders, a bunch of rich people. They were looking fancy. I was looking good too, but I ain't got as much as money room right now. I'll be a billionaire one day. I'm for sure I'll be a billionaire one day. But I got to kick it with those people. I got to dance, and I was super lit. I was turned up. They never seen somebody dance like that at a government party. I promise you that. I really was myself, genuinely 100% sweated my suit out. I had to go get some air, man. It was crazy, but they loved it. And a lot of people approached me and said, we needed that. We need that type of energy. We need that type of passion. And that's what I'm gonna bring every day, regardless of where I'm at. I'll bring that same passion. I'll bring me. I'll give it 100% every single day, because I believe that I can change the economy of our city. I believe I can change the economic growth. I believe that I can serve our underserved communities. I believe I can work with the strongest, hoodest, craziest dudes, because I know some of the strongest, hoodest, craziest dudes. I believe I can work with the richest of the rich white people, the elegant, fancy. I don't want to talk to you. I believe I can work with those people. I like fancy things. I know I'm a beautiful soul. I may not look like it. I may not be the best appealing person, but as soul, I know I'm gorgeous. And everything that's beautiful, it can't always be seen by the eye. It's only felt by the soul. So I really appreciate being able to serve the city, to create opportunities. And I'll be at the Forest Star Theater April 22nd. We'll be doing the esports event, and I'll be happy to see everybody there to come support. I'll have state representatives. I'll have a lot of powerful people there. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. All right, others wish to be heard?
Hello, Brandon Bilski, 2nd Ward. If there's one person I do not look forward to following, it's DeAndre Jones. And I like your pants too, by the way, buddy. So I want to talk first and foremost about accessibility. I, again, don't know why the 2 p.m. meeting was decided, or maybe someone can speak to that, like today. That would be great. Like, for real, why 2 p.m.? It's not good for second shift. It's not good for first shift. Certainly not good for third. What shift? And are we even basing it on shifts? I'm sure there's actually some, like, real theory behind this, so please. And second, let people call in, especially if you're going to be changing the times. Let people call in. Like, that increases democracy. Like I said before, I applaud the participatory budget, and I think making that an annual thing and increasing the amount of engagement would be great. And all the people who did that work did hundreds of hours of unpaid labor, because the city's plan and intent was only to have 1 month of public comment for what would be millions of dollars. So even your attempt was actually a facade, and it was pure optics. But there is hope, and that hope is these leaders that will have the city of tomorrow, if I have anything to say about it. And from there, I'd like to talk about the participatory budget, but the fact that we chose the power to know and to speak, and that $80,000 was awarded to a citizen advocacy training program. And I did write the language for this, and I'm really excited to see more people able to come out and speak, but also to expand the city wards from what was designed by furniture barons in 1911 to be the result of a 7-month city-long strike where cops shot at protesters who were trying to stop scabs from coming in and taking their hard-earned wages. And we've had that same system for over 100 years, a corporate system that bows purely to profit. And that's why so many people are suffering so deeply right now. And finally, more desperate people in our city, the more poverty increases, inflation, rents going up. It puts cops in more dangerous situations. So if you really care about cops, the solution is really on our side. If you're going to make them might is right muscle in a time of draconian politics, then yeah, people are going to die. More people are going to die. And we had 7 years of national attention on this issue. And obviously, colonial racism and violence and oppression has been 400, if not arguably an inherent part of society that we collectively are rising out of. But yes, we need to do more. And the city is largely silent. This is an oligarchy, and you are silent in the face of oppression in this seat. That is violence. So please, speak out. Even today, say violence is wrong, oppression is bad. This is an oligarchy, and we need to do something. If not, you're part of the problem. Thanks.
All right, others who wish to be heard?
Mark from Grand Rapids. Tyree Nichols, yanked out of his car, beaten, kicked, zapped, sprayed by 6 cops, not 5. In addition, they had their vehicles pointed in the direction where the dash cams were turned away from the action. And they tried to hide their body, the lenses of the body cams, so nobody won't see them. Fortunately, there was a city camera hooked on top of the utility pole. That's all that recorded the whole thing. And EMTs took up to 45 minutes to arrive. All because of one cop, Demetrius Haley, and his jealousy because his ex-girlfriend left him, and rumor had it that she was dating the victim. That what led to the fake stop. Wasn't no reckless driving, wasn't no resisting arrest. This was a total planned hit. Not good. Now, law enforcement is in deep trouble. And something has to be done. President Biden, it's time for you to lead. Reform's not good enough. Governor Whitmer in this state, it's time for you to lead. No more pussyfooting around with sleepy Republicans. Mayor Bliss, a black man was killed in your city. And a Grand Rapids resident plays basketball in Memphis. And I have a family member who lives in Memphis. Planting trees can wait. Youth leadership councils can wait. Downtown information centers can wait. Leaders lead. It's time you to lead. Anything less, unacceptable. Remove J. Edgar Hoover's name from the FBI building. Remove George Wallace's name from the town of Mobile, Alabama. Justice for Patrick Leoya and Tyree Nichols. Recall Ron DeSantis and boycott Swanson. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. All right.
I got handles. Should I pass them around?
Just
Oh,
give
you
me and
can
I'll
go.
pass them out.
Yep, thanks.
Again, my name is Scott Atchison, and I'm here to specifically address the 3 new commissioners. Everyone else there have heard my spiel before, so they can put earplugs in for all I care about. But I'm serious. You know, not only do we have the city and the county, we've got the DDA, the DID, the DGRI, the CAA, the CVB, and a few other alphabet agencies. Now I'm going to tell you what we don't have is an information system for downtown. Nobody knows what's open, and Google is not always right. You know, The convention facilities, the cleanliness, the hotels, bars, and restaurants downtown are all great. But when it comes to information for everyone, you guys get a C-, maybe a D+. You're spending over $1 million on the downtown wandering ambassadors. And I would, you new commissioners, go ask them a few questions. I don't know if they know who you are. They're not going to be able to answer the questions. They're going to like grab a cell phone and do anything anyone can have with a cell phone. I used to say at this podium that we need an information center right at Rosa Parks Circle. But after the George Floyd incidents and the riots in Grand Rapids, I say no, 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 but you need an information system. If there would have been an information center during the George Floyd riots in Grand Rapids, that would have been torched, burned, bricks thrown, windows broken, it would have been. But I'm telling you, I do a lot of traveling, and everybody wants information. You know, I'm going to reach out to you new commissioners individually in the future. But I'm just saying, somebody, and I'm saying it should either be the Downtown Development Authority or the Convention and Visitors Bureau, need to create a list every day and create real-time information for downtown. First place you share it with are the hotel concierges and front desk. But basically, you put everything in spreadsheets, word processing, go to a website, but you can also take a picture of the QR code, and it brings you right up daily information. The goal is to have daily information to reflect the daily, real-time activities in downtown. When the Van Andel has an event, everything's open. When the convention center, as I said, the golf show's this weekend. How many people are coming here for a wedding or whatever, don't even know the golf show's happening? And they got 3 hours to kill on a Saturday afternoon between the wedding and the reception downtown, but they don't know it's open. And I bet you these downtown wandering ambassadors don't know either. But all I'm saying to you, these are the handouts. Just read them, and I'm going to reach out to you individually. But as I said, pretty much for downtown, you guys get like an A-, B+. But when it comes to information and what's open, you guys get a C-, D+, and you guys can do a lot better. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. All right, anyone else who wishes to be heard?
Good afternoon. I'm Liddy. I live in the 2nd Ward. I'm really curious if anybody would ever answer the question of why you guys have not come out with a public, either, I'm pro or I'm against the downtown, the Chamber's recommendation that they put in December. I see a lot of people are asking you to publicly come out with, we are against this or we are for this. I mean, I'm assuming that you are against it, but it would be nice if you would actually say that, because that was a very divisive issue in this city. And a lot of people talk about it. You might be surprised, you probably won't, and I'm sure you've gotten the emails and the phone calls, but people talk about it. Like, this is kind of shocking for people, and to not have any kind of a comment from you guys, I don't know what to make of that. So if at some point you would come out saying, hey, we were against this, or we will not do this, I think that would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. All right, anyone else who wishes to be heard? All right, I will turn to my colleagues on this body. I'll start down here with Commissioner Knight. Okay, Commissioner Robbins?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just wanted to say thanks for coming out. I just continue to be encouraged by the conversations happening both on the dais and off the dais, just about many of these issues, and hope to continue those as well soon. I did want to point out that John Ball Zoo is having a community engagement meeting February 15th. It's a Wednesday at 6 p.m., so it'll just be to discuss and just get some community feedback on the future of the zoo. So if you live in the West Side or you don't and you still want to come out, we would be really grateful to have you.
Thanks. Commissioner Moody?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With it being Black History Month, I wanted to bring up the name Carter G. Woodson, who was the founder of Black History, and in reference to him finding it in 1915. One of the most important things that Carter G. Woodson wanted to point out to black people was the fact that their history was important to the country and the success in which they were living, in spite of all of the controversies that they have gone through as a race of people. To this very present day, as we get ready to remember Bishop Dennis J. McMurray and commemorating the street after him, he too now was added to that Black History Month as well, here in the city of Grand Rapids. I'm saying that because when you speak about Dr. King, one of the most important things Dr. King said, the measure of man is not where he stands in times of convenience or comfort, but where he stands in times of controversy. Controversy exists whenever we have to deal with racism. Controversy exists whenever we have to deal with hatred. Over a period of time during Black history, hundreds and thousands and millions of African American men and women were murdered. My question is, it has nothing to do with anything other than hatred. But now we're at a point right now in this country where we're trying to overcome all of those things that have taken place in the past. One, we heard today a presentation from our two wonderful presenters, Mrs. Keaton from the Kent County Continuum of Care and Mrs. Peoples in reference to Housing of Kent, and talking about where we stand in terms of homelessness and where we stand in terms of housing. It is important for us to understand that we're overturning systems that were put in place. Systems were put in place years ago. When you talk about redlining, you can find it in Grand Rapids. But right now, this time is for us to transform our thinking. And I appreciate when Mrs. Peoples talked about systems and how we get wrapped up into them and things that have gone on for years. If we don't change the way we think right now in terms of building Grand Rapids to be better, then we might as well throw everything in a handbasket and just let it roll down the hill. But I believe that we're on the right track right now. We talked, Mrs. Bohach and Mr. Hahn talked about lead. We are looking at our lead situation, especially in the Third Ward. We're making changes. Lead paint, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you for saying that, because I don't want them to think that there's lead in the pipes, because there's no lead in the pipes. There might be some lead pipes, but our water is pure, our water is clean, and our water is safe to drink. Ask Mr. O'Connor, he and I drink it every day. But I want to make a point so that we don't walk away from here thinking that the city isn't doing anything. We don't have to stand up and say what we are against and what we are for. I think it's important that if we don't vote on something or we make it clear that we're not in favor of something, that stands alone within itself that we want things to be revised or rethought. I'm saying this again. This is Black History Month, and I go back to my teaching of Mr. Holmes, who was my Black History teacher. He said it very clearly in the 9th grade. He said that we are a race of people, black, white, Hispanic, or whatever. But if we don't see each other as human beings, then we don't see each other at all. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate that. Commissioner O'Connor?
Thank you, Mayor. I think first I just want to start with the fiscal committee this morning. One of the most, I think, exciting things to happen was the revitalization and placemaking grants we received from the state of Michigan for a tune of $9.3 million. It's a huge win for the city of Grand Rapids. It's going to fund 7 shovel-ready projects in our community. That's going to create 364 total units of housing. Over 328 of those units are going to be at 80% AMI or less, and account for $132 million of economic development in our community in a time when we need housing. So that's really great to know that those projects are ready to go, and hopefully we'll see those start to take action. I thank the economic development team today for their presentation about outcomes related to the incentives that we offer. I think that was a good point of communication to talk about, not just the investments that have been made over the last year, but the commitments and the follow through that those receiving benefits make when they talk about jobs created or hourly wages that are created as a result of those jobs, that there are metrics to support those, and there's tracking that goes on after the fact. If you missed the Public Safety Committee meeting prior to this meeting, it will be available online soon. I do encourage those concerned about the conversation around the unhoused community in Grand Rapids to look at that. While we did receive that letter, I don't think there's any impetus from this body to take action on that. We've had better conversations about housing in the unhoused community in Grand Rapids in the last 60 days since receiving that letter. There's no ordinance on the table to be adopted. There's no ordinance on the table to be considered. We are having I think really frank and honest and open discussion about what housing and unhoused economic development, it's all interrelated so intimately, but we're having better conversations and talking about the systems and where the gaps in the systems exist. And I'm really hopeful that we're going to see positive change as a result of this. So check out the Public Safety Committee. It was an hour-and-a-half meeting. I think there's a lot, we could ask questions for another hour, and I know that these conversations will be ongoing, but we are doing, I think we feel really good about the fact that we're really diving into these conversations. And, again, there's no ordinance on the table. We're not bringing an ordinance to the dais for consideration or public hearing or discussion. We're talking about the root causes of these problems and how we as a city can be a partner with the various participants to help address those concerns.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Isasi?
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate all that has been said. I'll offer just also check out the presentation and update about our master planning process from this morning as well. Thank you, Ms. Turkleson, and the rest of your team. Also included in that is a number of kickoff meetings that are happening in the ward throughout this month, and those are published. So I know I plan to go to the one in our second ward at GRPS University later this month on February 21st. I think there was also a question about the community engagement process and the investment that was made there. I think Commissioner Perdue, you had asked that question at our fiscal committee, and Ms. Turkleson is going to provide that for us. The resolution that you saw in front of us is not the only community engagement investment that we have as a city. So I wanted to highlight that. I'll too share the thoughts that some of my other colleagues have shared around the ordinance. I think that sometimes I think, where is the communication lost? Because I remember very explicitly sitting in this seat and saying what I felt about the ordinance, which was that I wouldn't support it. I also want to remind people that while we are a body, we are 7 individuals with 7 different perspectives and the ability to vote in whatever way we see fit or to offer amendments. So I have received a number of those, and I just want to point that out. So thank you for highlighting that even further to Commissioner O'Connor. And then lastly, we set a public hearing to review the lead ordinance that was presented today. Ms. Bohat shared a number of pieces related to the process. So it is a public hearing to be set. We do not have a date to consider at this time. This is the first step, and I look forward to engaging with individuals to talk further about the ordinance. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Perdue?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for your comments today, particularly on the issues that are before us and the issues that are within our purview. I find some of the stories that you all share to illustrate our challenges particularly helpful, as well as when you all send in recommendations, given some of your lived experience or your technical expertise. That's really helpful to me as an individual, and I'm sure to others as we deliberate some of these issues. So I just want to thank you for that. So the idea of information and information sharing came up quite a bit today. I think sometimes dealing with the city, there's actually information overload, and that there is so much information and so many channels for communication. But a number of you came today with comments on agenda items and saying, I'm not really sure what this is, but I hope it is this. Well, the city has a newsletter, a video vlog to kind of give those high-level snippet updates that I hope you all find helpful, or kind of lean in on your commissioner to help translate some of those items so that you do feel like you're in the know with all the information that we talk about in any given week. So related to the housing ordinance that was discussed in December, I understand that almost half of this body is new, and so you're asked to say, how are you freshmen feeling is a fair question. I would say that I am not interested in revisiting that ordinance as is. I do appreciate our downtown, kind of the folks who signed on, particularly those in the downtown vicinity, for coming to the table and say, let's engage in a conversation, let's finding solutions. I do not believe that what was presented is the solution. I'm not interested in picking that up. As we dig into the housing issue and lean on the expertise of those who work in that field, I also hope that with that the elephant in the room is the need to look at wages, living wages, education and career, mobility and pathways. And so I hope that some of the same folks who are taking leadership and coming to the table and say, let's find solutions, will also think about how to support education and career pathways that is within their expertise and within their power. And I think we can all agree that there's some opportunity there. A few more other comments, just kind of things that came up today. Community engagement, Commissioner Yasasi did mention, and I just want to reiterate that the dollars that we voted on today is not the extent of compensation for community engagement. There's another piece around community connectors and even more. And so I think that we've made a lot of progress in how we engage community, how we compensate community members for their time, and agree that that's still an area of opportunity. And so that's why I asked the questions that I did in fiscal this morning. With that, as we all think about how do we contribute to solutions and kind of creating the next the city that we all want to live, work, and play in, want to remind you that there are dozens of openings on our city boards and commissions around all the issues that you care about. And so I hope that you'll consider taking a look and putting in applications. We're voting on new applications every other week, and so I hope to see some of your names there as well. Lastly, do want to publicly acknowledge Black History Month. This month, I am focused on embracing the diversity within the Black community and the Black diaspora around the globe. I embrace our agency and our power. The person that is bringing me inspiration is Shirley Chisholm. She is the first Black woman elected to Congress and also the first Black woman to run for president on a national major party platform. And her saying, which resonates with me, and I'll leave you here, is to be unbought and unbossed. Happy Black History Month. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Well said. City Clerk?
Yes, just a couple things. So I mentioned under the communications that we received 23 communications about the ordinance that was given to us. And we were given ordinances and various other things from community groups and things that we don't act on. But I did give a response, and so I'll just share the response because maybe that will help in this conversation. Thank you for your communication in regard to the Chamber of Commerce's proposed ordinance. The proposed ordinance was not placed on a city commission agenda. Without an ordinance being brought to the city commission by the city manager, the ordinance cannot be voted down. The lack of an ordinance being brought forward for discussion/adoption is a rejection by the city commission. Please see the news articles below confirming the city commission rejected the proposed ordinance. One was from a localtoday.news. The headline was "No New Rules for Homeless People in Grand Rapids." And then from michiganradio.org, their headline was "Grand Rapids City Commission Rejects Proposed Anti-Panhandling Ordinance." So I shared that with those that shared that email with us. In regards to the 2:00 time, we had discussion. So the city ordinance or the city charter states that, previous commissions years ago, before an charter change, the city commission met weekly, and I believe those were all during the day usually,
Except one, I think.
except for one of the month. So the charter was changed to go from weekly meetings to twice a month on Tuesdays, and at least one of them would need to be at 7:00 p.m. The other time is, if it wasn't at that time, it was at 2:00 in the afternoon. So that's what the charter says. In the following the Patrick Lioya conversations that we had with the city manager and some other city leaders met with the Congolese refugee community. And the city manager, correct me if I have this incorrect, they requested an earlier, they weren't able to attend a 7:00 meeting time for some of them because of the work that they did in the evening time. And so they asked for some different options. I've also heard in the past from senior citizens who do not like going out after dark in the evening, just for driving. And we've had a nice winter so far after the snow. Yeah, knock on wood. But we want to make sure that there's other options. And then you can say, well, they're not in the room today. Well, that doesn't mean we also have 199,000 other Grand Rapidians who are not in this room as well. And so I'm thankful for everybody that attends and participates. This just gives a different option or a different time for those who may attend. Also for letting your thoughts known. There are other ways to communicate with the commission outside of their normal business meeting, through emails, through email campaigns, which we've seen over the years, emailing commissioners, working in community neighborhood associations and like. So there are various opportunities for citizens and residents to participate in these proceedings.
All right, thank you. City Attorney?
I think Joe covered it all.
All right. And City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor.
I want to thank the staff for all the work that goes into preparing for this meeting, and you've heard all the comments earlier about the briefing, so I won't repeat that. I do want to also acknowledge this month of Black History and acknowledge a trailblazer that made it possible for many of us of color to be up here, and that is Paul I. Phillips, who was the first African-American commissioner of the Grand Rapids City Charter Commission at the time. So I appreciate his boldness that paved the way for many of us who are here on the dais, and who also served in many other capacities in our community as a leader of the Urban League as well as the Board of Education. I'm also very grateful for the continued legacy of Bishop Dennis McMurray, who has been a giant in this community and was awarded the Giant Award recently, but also how well he has prepared his son to lead as the succeeding pastor of the Renaissance Church. And so, Pastor McMurray, I'm so proud of you and First Lady for being here today and celebrate with you and the Renaissance family our contribution to memorializing the history that continues to be lived out in your congregation through its founder, Bishop McMurray. So thank you for being here. I also appreciate the presentation today of our police chief, Chief Winstrom, who also earlier last week provided at least some reflection on the very tragic incident that happened in Memphis, and his observations of how that was certainly excessive and not condoned. And I do want to, I'm very careful not to paint everyone with a broad brush. And while I am in management and often times sit at the opposite table of labor unions, I would be very ashamed to be the city manager of an organization whose labor union is affiliated with the hate group of the KKK. So I want to let those officers who are really trying to live out the true meaning of what we're trying to do as community policing, that we certainly don't view you in that light, and would hope that you, despite all of the difficult conversations that are going on right now, would help to prove those who have that perspective differently. I very much appreciate Marcel Price for coming here today and sharing those perspectives, and how he pointedly and passionately both highlighted as well as, I think, challenged us as a city and a commission to show all of our community in a positive light, those that are in downtown, but Mr. Atkinson, but also outside of downtown, who contributes to our visitor community. And I'm looking forward to continued opportunities to work with the Diatribe. I also want to follow up on the comments related to the public engagement aspect of the community master plan, and what you saw today was a portion of the funded engagement that was on the city commission agenda. But the total amount spent on community engagement of the master plan is almost $130,000. So as Commissioner Perdue indicated today, there was the neighborhood organizations who also receive additional funding, community development block grant funding to help us with engagement, was receiving $27,000, but also the community connectors were receiving another $25,000 in addition to what is being paid by the professional consultant or contractor who's working with our community. And so hopefully we will engage more voices. And also pleased to see the continued support of the Cesar Chavez Social Justice March today by this commission, and the report from our Economic Development Department that highlighted over $245 million in investment throughout the various wards of our city, but $29 million of that being in equitable investments that further the work of MLBEs, WBEs, and minority-owned businesses. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, City Manager. I won't be redundant and repeat everything that was said. I'll echo my colleagues' comments and support everything that's been said and just add a couple things. One, I do hope that we all take some time to celebrate Black History Month, really pause to honor and recognize all the African Americans who've worked so hard in our community in the past, but also who continue to work to make our community a better, more equitable and inclusive place. And there's many opportunities to do that throughout the month in a lot of different locations. There's panels, there's films, there's talks. And I hope everyone in our community will take advantage of really learning and celebrating during this month and really beyond this month all year long. And then just a couple things. I'm gonna add my thanks to our legislators in Lansing. I've been there quite a bit the last few weeks. I was really happy to see the supplemental that was passed, and Commissioner O'Connor elevated and recognized some of the RAP funding that we received. There was additional dollars put in the RAP funds in this last supplemental, so we're eager to see how those dollars are going to be allocated and out the door. But there's also funds that were allocated for low-income housing gap funding, which could accelerate a number of our low-income housing projects here in our city, as well as funding for missing middle housing, absolutely essential as we try to ensure that we have housing that's available to everyone in our community in all of our neighborhoods. So really appreciate that work. I also appreciate the presentation today at Public Safety. There's a lot of work being done in this community. I echo what Eureka said when she talked about the need to really look at the system. Having co-chaired the Housing Stability Alliance for 3 years and now serving on the board of Housing Kent, I really fundamentally believe that that work is essential to creating better outcomes, is really looking at how do we align our system and make sure that those dollars are being spent as effectively as possible to have good outcomes for the people who so desperately need it. And I'm hopeful that we are to a tipping point where we're going to start to see some real change and action after all of the years of really analyzing what the problem is. So just want to thank everyone. You know, there have been so many people engaged in this work, hundreds of people throughout our community, and it's really time that we come together and have some difficult conversations to drive real change. And then last, I hope to see you, I'll echo what a number of my colleagues said, as well as our city clerk. This isn't the only time to engage. We have a lot of neighborhood and community meetings scheduled coming up around a lot of different topics, including our upcoming master plan. I know many of us around this table will be at, if not one, but more of those upcoming meetings. And then also just encourage you to look at ways to connect in your neighborhood to really help identify what you would like to see in the master plan. And I know Kristen, Ms. Turkelson's in the back, and she can provide you with some more information if you're interested in that. So with that, I will close again by saying, Pastor McMurray and First Lady, thank you for being here. As we pause to celebrate Black History Month, I know Bishop McMurray is in our hearts and on our mind. So thank you both for all you do in our community, really you and your entire family and church family. So thank you for being here. And with that, we will adjourn.